and welcome to Hunter Fuel, a supernatural rewatch podcast for adults who enjoy their show with a chaser. I'm Liz.
And I'm Lynn.
We are back for season 2. We're so excited you can join us as we watch the very first episode of season 2 called In My Time of Dying. We model responsible drunkenness here. All participants are way over 21. No one is pregnant. No one will be driving, handling weapons, operating heavy machinery, or playing with off brand Ouija boards. If you're playing along with us, those are the rules. If you decide not to follow them and you do something stupid, don't blame us. Lynn, what are you drinking this evening?
Good old margarita.
You have a margarita. Um, okay. I the featured cocktail this week, I don't feel good about myself for picking out, but it is called the Dying Bastard. And it is 1/2 ounce each of gin, brandy, bourbon, and lime juice. 4 ounces of ginger beer and 2 dashes of Angostura bitters. Stir all that up and serve it over ice. We're going to see how this is going to go.
That it, yeah, had me till the end, and then I was like, okay. Well, then again, I
Better.
don't like ginger beer, so which I know you do.
I
So
I will. I like me a dark and stormy. Which
yeah, which I don't like.
Well, we will, that will be the future featured cocktail, but not for a very long time. So I will be consuming one of those. Before we get started, so Lynn and I have made some changes to the Supernatural game cards. So when I initially developed the game, which if you've seen the introduction video that we did, you've heard me talk about this already, that I realized most of the drinking games that existed already for Supernatural that I was going to go to the ER with alcohol poisoning. And so my goal was to try to mitigate it a little bit, have a reasonable amount of alcohol consumption. So I deliberately made the game so that you weren't guaranteed a bingo every single time. I wanted it to be a little bit of a challenge. I appear to have overcompensated a bit. Yeah, the fact that we had a whopping one win during regular season, and one we had to get down and dirty to get a win in the postseason. Um, Lynn and I felt that we needed to make some changes to the list. So this breaks my heart. It absolutely breaks my heart. But we took out Yahtzee, kick it in the ass. We got work to do, and rock paper scissors because they're fun little moments, but they just don't happen often enough to stay on the cards. We also combined some things. So Casa Erotica, Busty Asian Beauties are now both lumped in under porn. And we also made some things a little more generic. So, like as an example, now anytime anybody says Sammy, it counts as a square, not just when Dean says it. And then we added a couple of things. Lynn, you had made a couple of suggestions, so we did add a couple of things, and we're gonna fly this plane while we're still building it, and we're gonna reevaluate, and we'll make changes to the list as needed. So with that, Wizard Dave, if you could bring up our supernatural game cards for us, please. I'm going to admit I was looking at this a little earlier, and I don't feel terribly confident about mine. I don't think I have a fantastic card. If it were season 4, I would feel a lot more confident.
Yeah. I think I've got two, and that
Hmm.
includes the free space.
Well, we always include the free space, and as always, the first one is on the house. So
Yeah.
let's see how this one goes.
Actually, I might, yeah, including
Cheers.
the free space, I might have three. Might. Can't
It
remember if
doesn't
one
smell
is done.
bad.
Mhm.
Let's see.
Mhm. Oh, that's good.
You know, it's not my favorite, but we've had worse.
So it's not as bad as Asylum.
I don't think anything ever will be again. We'll see.
I hope not for your sake.
Oh, that one was not good. So yeah, this one, it's kind of nice. It's a little fall-y, actually, it's kind of a nice little
Well, that's kind of
fall.
appropriate. It
It's
is
appropriate,
October.
considering it's 20 degrees cooler yesterday than it was yesterday. A nice fall cocktail is not inappropriate. Oh, right. Well, before we hit play here, as always, if you would like to play along with us, there's a link to generate a card of your very own in the link tree, so you are welcome to do that. Big change this season. If you are watching these episodes on Netflix, big change. They now have the exact same music in the on the streaming as they do on the discs. So for the first time since we started this little journey, we're all hearing the same music.
Thank God.
Indeed, there's some fun music cues. So we're hitting play here, and so what we have now, instead of a previously on Supernatural, what we have is a then segment. And this is the format the show will have for the rest of its run. And what you're hearing is Ted Nugent's Stranglehold. So it's a recap of the big moments of season one. We've got take your brother outside as fast as you can and don't look back, saving people, hunting things, the family business, the hunt for the yellow-eyed demon, the cult and its single remaining bullet. We have the increase of demon activity they've been seeing recently, John's possession by the yellow-eyed demon in Devil's Trap, plan for Sammy and all the children like him. And of course, this big cliffhanger ending with the with the poor Impala getting just T-boned by a tractor trailer. So if you remember from Devil's Trap, when they were driving Dean to the hospital, because well, they were all in bad shape, honestly, but Dean was sort of the worst. Um, Creedence Clearwater Revival's Bad Moon Rising was playing. And so we're going to pick up exactly where we left with the now. We can hear Bad Moon Rising still playing. So Baby is beaten to hell, but the radio still works. This is not the same location, and this is not the same driver because not just, but there was no intention for the driver of the tractor trailer to appear on screen. It was supposed to hit the car and just keep driving. So this is a new actor, and I love this. He tears the door off, and there's Sam sitting there with a Colt pointed right at him. Like this is a badass Sam here. And he just threatens this demon like, I will kill you dead. And the demon sees in his eyes that there's a hearse coming for him, and he just smokes out. And I love this so much. Um, so I'm actually going to pause it because well, I'm gonna let it run for another second here. So once the demon evacuates the the poor driver, I think like it's great from him because he's like, oh my God, did I do this? Because he obviously has no recollection of this. Okay, I'm gonna pause this because all three Winchesters are knocked out. So we have our very first opportunity to get a square here. Let's see if any of us have.
Someone gets knocked out.
Someone gets knocked out, and I do.
So do
Um,
I. And actually, I
if you
hadn't even thought about the fact that, because I always think of it as someone physically getting knocked out and not the fact that the car wreck from the beginning has them knocked out.
to
So,
me, if they're unconscious and it's not that they've passed out either because they're drunk or exhausted or have been drugged. Like if they're unconscious, I'm calling that a knockout. So cheers.
cheers.
And before I hit play, poor Jared, he you could see a little bit in that scene there. The intention had been to do his makeup as if he had hit the steering wheel with his face. So his right eye, he's wearing a lot of prosthetics on his eye throughout the episode. He This next scene we're about to watch was filmed in the daylight, with the intention like, okay, the boys have been lying here for some time before somebody spots them, and the glue on Jared's prosthetic started to melt in the hot sun. And the glue ran into his eye, the prosthetic slid off, and so they had to do like an eye wash first aid protocol on him. Like he was in pretty bad shape. So they are like, ah, fuck it, put an eye patch on him. So hit play. I'm hitting play. There it goes. We've got this great shot of the helicopter coming out of the sunlight. This is directed by Kim Manners, so you know it's going to be gorgeous. Um,
Mhm.
we can see again, all three Winchesters are knocked out. They're in bad shape. Dean's BP is 100 over 15. He's terrible. Sam's screaming, are they even still alive? Because nobody will tell him anything. You can
Yeah.
see this eye patch that he's got. So 3 hours in the makeup chair getting his prosthetic on, and they couldn't use it anyway. We are back in Riverview Hospital. So this is a frequent location. We see Dean hop out of bed here. He does have a cut on his forehead, so we know he's got a head injury. He's walking around, he's looking for Sam. I love this shot here. We've got some
Mhm.
foreshadowing. The camera pans up. We've got the exit sign very prominently. You may recognize this stairwell here. They use this a lot when they go to Riverview. Um,
And it's a
and
surprisingly empty hospital, like in this area.
it is. You're not wrong. And this beautiful twisting shot as Dean comes down the stairs. He's barefoot, so Um, he walks up to this nurse in the reception desk. You may recognize her. This is Carrie Ann Fleming. She will be back playing a different character who's extremely important to Bobby. So we're going to see her again in later seasons. But she is paying no attention to Dean whatsoever. So she's either blind or something is going on here.
And the look on Dean's face tells a very tells a story that something is very wrong, and we now
Yep.
discover what it is.
Yeah, he comes tearing back to his room, and now we can see him. So Dean's looking down at himself in bed with all the stuff taped to him. Jensen has talked about, he really did not enjoy having all that stuff. So of course Jared was like wiggling the tubes and stuff to irritate him. We've got a new title card for season 1, and or
Scene
season 2,
two.
excuse me. The so every season we get a new title card, and they tell us a little something about the season, what the season arc is. Um, Here comes Sam. He's in kind of the best shape of the three of them. He's actually up and walking around, so um, they've apparently discharged him. Um, and I love this scene so much where, Dean even says, like, come on, you're psychic. Like, be a ghost whisperer. Come on. Um,
Yeah.
so far, what we've seen of Dean, where they're both of them in the same shot. That's been a CGI shot, or visual effect. They will in a later scene have a body double wearing a prosthetic Dean mask. And the poor guy, they had to like lead him around the set because Dean is in a coma. So, the eyes are closed on the prosthetic. So the body double couldn't see anything. They had to like lead him around set. So here comes the doctor, and there's this great line from Dean where
Yeah,
he's saying to Sam, like, find a hoodoo priest, lay some mojo on me, I'll be fine. Because the doctor is like, we really need to level set expectations here about your brother. Like his chances of recovery are not good. I think it's really interesting here that Sam goes to see John. John is also in the hospital.
yeah,
John asks him, what else did the doctor say? And Sam says, nothing. So he's about to get super pissed at John for
yeah.
withholding information. And yet,
Yep, and here he uses Dean's line about the mojo thing. So you know he's kind of hearing him.
he's hearing something. And I love when he says it because that's the way that Sam speaks. And Gerald does this really great, subtle little like twitch in his eyebrows where he doesn't quite understand why he said what he said. So it's a great moment. You're right. Um, but here we've got Sam getting pissed at John for doing the exact same thing as Sam is doing. So as much as like they butt heads all the time, it's because they're so much alike. Like, um, so
Yeah, but
John,
at least in
go
this
ahead.
one, at least in this like he at least sort of repeated what he said. Like, all right, come on, put some mojo on me, and I'll come back. He's like, all right, where's the? I feel like John is like, okay, where's the gun? And he's like, your son is dying, and you're talking about hunting.
It, and this is something I don't want to say too much about it here. We're going to talk about it more at the end. But John is being John. That John has a plan he's not telling the boys about. And because of the relationship that they've had, particularly the relationship Sam has had with John, it they presume he's focused on killing the yellow-eyed demon. We've got this beautiful shot where the camera pans around John and then focuses, and so Dean's been there the
Oh,
whole time, and
I
he
love
knows
that look.
John's lying. It's a beautiful, beautiful shot, and Dean is like, yeah, you know something you're not saying.
Yeah.
Oh, we get a look at the car after the wreck, and oh, it's in terrible shape.
Mm-hmm.
um So Bobby has gone to get the car before the cops find the weapons cache in the back.
Yeah,
Um,
minor problem.
Sam pulls his laptop out and it's beaten to shit. The prop master Chris Cooper asked Kim Manners how he should destroy the laptop, and Kim Manners went, I don't know, chuck it off the roof of the studio. So that's what Chris Cooper did. So the laptop went off the roof and it's all smashed. Um, this conversation I love so much because they're talking about the car, but they're not talking about the car. They're talking about Dean, and it, Sam is just not prepared to give up. It doesn't matter what anybody tells him about how bad a shape his brother is in. He's not giving up, and he's not giving up on the car. Uh, so
Yeah,
it's
I,
like
I love the line of if there's even one working part, we are Dean will fix the car.
yep, yeah.
Like it
That
doesn't matter if there
it
is
doesn't matter.
yeah.
This
If
car needs to be ready for Dean when he wakes up. Like it doesn't matter what the doctors are telling Sam. Like he's having none of it. Like
yeah.
he's convinced like they're gonna find something for Dean. Cut back to the hospital, and again, now here's Dean. He's like, you haven't called a single person. And I think it's really kind of sad the relationship the boys have with John that particularly, I mean, Dean was dying once before and John didn't even call him back. So in the episode Faith, and man, Jensen's performance is so good here.
Hmm.
Like I've given everything that I have, and you're just gonna sit here and watch me die. And having seen the whole episode, we know John has a plan, and it's a terrifying plan, and just nobody knows what he's up to because he's keeping that to himself.
And you
Um,
would think, though, from everything that happened last season, like you kind of think that John is over that bullshit, and you realize
mhm.
that he isn't. Like he
No,
hasn't gotten past being John. Like I
no, no. The
It's
boys are
infuriating.
doing some growing, but he's kind of not. We did have an Americana theme plays there, but I don't want to pause it just yet. We're going to go back in a second. I want to let this play through, and then we'll go back and look at our cards. Um, but Dean saw something streak past him.
Mm-hmm.
He follows it and he sees the nurse from the reception area, and she's dying. Okay, so we've got a black screen here. I'm going to pause it. Um, and so Dean believes that there's something in the hospital that's killing people. Uh, but he's calling for help, and of course nobody can hear him because
Yeah.
he's a disembodied spirit.
Yeah.
All right, so let's check our cards for an Americana theme. I don't recall having it.
I don't recall having it
Oh,
either,
I
but
do. I do. I was mistaken. I do have it.
yeah. Nope, I do not.
Ew. Are you gonna let me drink alone?
Yeah, I guess I can't let my sister do that.
Hmm. Oh, I just realized something.
What?
I'm gonna ask a question now.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna
Okay,
wait.
now you got me freaking curious.
I'm
You're
gonna
like,
wait.
yeah, I know, and I suck.
Well,
Or you're
that's a
just gonna
whole
wait
other
till I'm
question.
more liquored up and then ask me.
Oh, you're on to me. On to me. Okay, so we're hitting play and we are now, oh, we have a Sammy.
Yep.
Okay, so hitting pause again. Um,
All right, that I have.
I have a Sammy. So I
Uh,
now have four in a row.
oh yeah, you didn't have a good card.
Well, okay, I'm gonna say this now. I was tempted to ask you earlier if we were, well, hang on. If you're drinking, I'm gonna drink too. So cheers.
Mm. Cheers. After I drink it.
Swallow, swallow. Um, I was going to ask you earlier if we wanted to call it Sam gets conked on the head for him hitting the steering wheel because we don't see it on screen. So it would be cheating if we do.
Because he really doesn't get conked on the head.
No, I mean he did get conked on the head. He hit the steering wheel. That's why his eye is all busted up, but we don't see it on screen. So it would, if we agreed, it would absolutely be cheating because I usually go with you have to see it on screen for it to count.
Well, wouldn't that have happened technically if we were going to do the cheating thing? Wouldn't that have happened in the last episode?
Well, yes, but it wouldn't have given me five in a row last episode.
I see where this is going. Oh, you crack me up. I say, because
No
I.
point cheating if it doesn't buy you anything.
I say, if you would like to do the Sam gets conked on the head, 'cause I technically have it also. It's definitely not going to get me anything
In a row.
except for a drink.
Okay,
Um,
well, I'm not going to do it yet because when you have 5 in a row, technically you're cut off. And it's too early for me to be cut off. But I'm going to put that in my back pocket. Yeah. So I'm hitting play. And now Sam has come back. Uh um he found out from Bobby that John was lying to him about he had wanted some ingredients for a protection spell.
yeah.
And so now Sam is tearing a strip off of John. He's pissed. Dean is like, come on, can't we just all get along? Can't we be nice? The two of them are just shouting at each other. And Dean loses his temper and he swats at this water glass that's on John's like little tray and it flies off and it breaks and
I
Sam
love this. I absolutely.
it's fantastic. And he's like, "Oh, full on sweet that mother."
I love that line. That is like,
Well, and it's a because of Ghost, big fan of the movie Ghost. And
boom.
there it
There we
is. We've got the
go.
glass shatter, and John and Sam are both like,
What the
"Uh,
fuck,
what?"
dude? Oh yeah, we have a dude.
We have a dude. I'm gonna hold on it just 1 second because there's something else coming up here. Dean starts to collapse. Something is going wrong. There's this rumbling sound. Um, Doctors and nurses start running past. Sam goes to check and they get to Dean. Dean is crashing. We've almost, I'm sitting here and I'm like, cry, baby, cry. Like Sam comes so close to crying here and he fucking doesn't. Um, like, cry, come on, cry. Um, so the doctors are trying to revive Dean. It's not working. Dean sees this thing that he had seen earlier, hovering over his bed. He thinks this thing is trying to kill him. He manages to grab hold of it and it throws him against the wall. So we're going to check our cards for a dude and somebody gets thrown against the wall. Um, this thing leaves. Dean chases it and Dean's back.
Yeah.
So whatever it is, Dean is still technically alive. Uh,
Oh,
and
and
he,
look at
Sam,
poor Sam. He is.
still not crying
No,
though.
he's not
Dang it.
crying. He's got watery eyes, but he's not
Doesn't
crying.
count.
Nope, nope,
Doesn't
nope,
count.
no. Ducky says nope, nope,
Dang
nope.
it. So, and I love this thing from Dean where he says, if I can grab it, I can kill it.
Kill it.
Uh, so he and this great scene where it spins around, that's a body double. That's the body double with the full Dean mask prosthetic. So the camera like spins around. So Dean was there and now he's gone. So now he's continuing to search the hospital. We're going to pause it here because we're about to meet somebody new. Okay, so we need a dean and or sorry, dude,
Dude.
which I have, and
Yep,
someone
so
gets
do
thrown
I.
against a wall, which I also have. I'm doing
Uh,
far better than I thought I was going to do. I'm not going to lie.
Sam gets conked on the head. I do not have
Mm,
someone gets thrown against the wall, but I do have a dude.
okay, dudes all around.
Dudes all around.
All
Cheers.
right. Cheers. Well, you know what? I can't. I drink mine, but I can't let do that. Cheers.
Hmm. Yum yum yum.
So I'm hitting play. Dean has been attracted by the sound of someone calling, like, can't anybody see me? And he's like, oh, now what the fuck? What hospital is this that they have PJs this cute? In all seriousness, been in the hospital myself a time or two. I've gone to visit other people in the hospital. I've never seen cute little PJs like this with the little buttons and
Yeah, no, especially because they have to be able to get at the wires. So yeah, yeah, no, this
yeah.
is yeah, they do not show off your physique like this. They
No, no, these are especially well tailored, non-ass exposing hospital PJs. Uh, so, so she just came in for an appendectomy and she's done. He's like, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I think you had some complications. So this is Lindsay McKeon, Miss Tessa, and I love her. I think her performance is so good. Um, and so she's saying that, she's realizing she's dying. And so Dean is saying, like, we appear to be having an out of body experience. Um, we also we missed it a moment ago, but there's a page for Dr. Kripke to room 237. So of course Eric Kripke, the showrunner and
Yeah.
creator, and 237 is a reference to the film The Shining. So we're going to see a lot of references to The Shining throughout Supernatural. That they're big fans. Um, but there's this kind of lengthy conversation between Dean and Tessa. And meanwhile, Sam is back in John's room and they're starting to realize, like, oh crap, this is Dean. And maybe because of his psychic whatever. So this is now the second time it's been mentioned in this episode. It may or may not be important. But, um, Sam says he has an idea for a way to see if they can communicate with Dean. John promises, I won't hunt the demon until we
Yeah,
make sure that your brother's going to be okay. He doesn't lie. He doesn't lie. He's not hunting it. Um,
technical detail.
Technical, well, yeah, he's not lying, but he's not telling the whole truth either. Cut back to Dean and Tessa, and
Yeah.
suddenly she's like, I thought it was pretty sucky that I was gonna die, but now I'm all kinds of okay with it. Like, I don't want to be dead, but if this is the hand I got dealt, okay, I'm not gonna fight it anymore. And Dean's like, oh no, that's bullshit. Like you can here, I'm sorry, here it is. This is the page for Dr. Kirkita 237. Um, Dean starts Dean starts running because he hears a commotion, and this is a little girl, and now here's this same thing that Dean has been seeing. He thinks now it's attacking a child. He rushes it, he's shouting at it to get away. But the little girl has died.
Yeah.
Um, and we've got the nurse calling the time of death.
Uh,
Um, well, I'm assuming she's a nurse just based on how
yeah.
she's dressed.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, it could be a doctor, but I think the way she's dressed, I believe it's a nurse, not a doctor. We're gonna see this in a later season where Dean really struggles with the idea of a child dying prematurely. So not really a spoiler alert, but if you've seen the whole show all the way through, this is an interesting little moment here. So here comes Sam, his great big idea, and he knows
I
Dean's going
love
to
this.
love
You
his
gotta
episode
be
for
kidding
this.
me.
So this is a talking board. It's a mystical talking board. They couldn't call it a Ouija board because they don't have rights to the brand. Like Ouija is a brand. They didn't have rights to. So they had to design their own graphics for this. And it's a mystical talking board. Beautiful 360 shot where, Dean's not there. The camera pans around. Here he comes. He's got to feel like I'm at a slumber party.
And then of
Um,
course he caves. All
he does.
right.
He's like, all right, it's never gonna work. It bothers me a little bit that the bottom of Dean's feet are dirty because, like, technically he doesn't have feet. He shouldn't be getting dirty, but we're going to suspend disbelief here. And sure enough, Dean is able to concentrate and he's able to move the planchette around. He's like, I'll be damned. That worked. Um, so he starts having this conversation. And of course, Ouija boards are, excuse me, mystical talking boards are a limited form of communication. Jared has talked about how difficult this was for him because he's looking at a different angle than the camera was. So trying to figure out where he had to hold the planchette that the camera could see the letter clearly, it was challenging for him because if the camera could see it, he couldn't, and vice versa. Um, and again, the camera's continuing to spin around. Sometimes Dean is there, sometimes he's not. So Jensen was getting a workout in, like running around so he could like drop down after the camera had done its pass. And so Dean realizes this is not something killing people, it's something taking them, that they're dying and it's a reaper. Um, so again, the last time Dean was dying was in the episode Faith, and it was a Reaper. So this is our second opportunity to have um, Reapers not really be the monster of the week, but they're what he's facing. And we've got this great line from him where he says, "You can't kill death," which we're just gonna leave there. Um,
I see. You see. I love the I'm screwed, and he's like, I like you hear the whole conversation between the two brothers of I'm
yeah,
screwed. There's got to be a way,
yep.
and and then he gets up and leaves, and it's like, all right, I will figure this out. Okay, fuck, where'd dad go?
Now where's Dad? You may recognize this boiler room from the episode Asylum, because they came through this exact same door for Asylum. They have dressed this set differently, so the room once John is in doesn't look like it did in Asylum, but it's the same door at Riverview. Um, but yeah, back to your point. Um, it really is it's kind of neat because like we can hear both sides of the conversation, but Sam only sees what Dean is able to spell out with the planchette.
Yeah.
And yet with just a couple of letters, he totally understands what Dean is trying to tell him. I think it's really fabulous. I am going to pause it here because we have a summoning ritual.
Yeah. The other
Uh,
thing the other thing I wanted to say that I loved
yeah,
about that was was when he goes, dude, one question at a time.
one at a time.
Because of course Sam's spouting out one thing after another. He's like,
Yeah,
dude, slow down. I can
I can't spell that fast, bro. Pump the
yeah.
brakes. Um, okay, well, and okay, so we're looking for a summoning ritual, and we're about to have a son of a bitch. So while we're paused, we might as well look for that as well. And
And I don't think I have either.
I don't think I have either.
Son of a
And
bitch.
I don't no, we don't have that one, and I don't like it. I am unhappy about that. And
So that
so
means we just have to have a drink.
I I need consoling.
And
I'm
I
sad and I'm gonna have a drink to make myself feel better. I'm totally kidding. I don't, I just feel like having a little more. Mm,
and I can't let you drink
cheers.
alone. So
No,
cheers.
no. What are sisters for if not to enable you? Almost got you to spit it out. Almost. So close. So
That
close to a spit take.
was close.
Okay, so hitting play. Sam is back in Dean's room. He's talking to Body Double Dean with the prosthetic face, and live action Dean is looking over his shoulder as they're going through Dad's journal because they couldn't talk to Dad. Dad wasn't in his room,
Yeah,
and they're looking at Dad's journal entry about Reapers. And Dean notices something. And
yeah.
you see him go like, oh, son of a bitch.
Yeah, I
And
was gonna say
he,
it's all in his eyes.
yep,
Yep, right there. Ugh.
yep, he sees it. He takes off and
Yeah,
he's looking for Tessa. And she knows the game is up. Look how differently this is lit.
yeah.
Her whole, like her outfit's different. The lighting is different. It's much more ominous than it was. And what Dean says that he saw in the journal was that Reapers have the ability to alter human perception. And he realizes that Tessa is the Reaper and that her true form, and she says this, like I was kind of wondering when you would figure it out, but my true form, it, you freaked out. So I had to show you something that was more acceptable to you. So she shows him a pretty girl, which explains why the Reapers here look different than they did in Faith. Now I gotta say honestly, the creepy old man, I don't know who that works on. I don't know who wants to see their Reaper as a creepy old man, but I'd rather deal with Tessa.
Yeah.
Um, but I have to say, in all honesty, I love her performance. I love the way she touches his face and like he visibly reacts to that. Like something happens to him when she touches her face. But like her interactions with Dean are so sweet and so nurturing and it's really beautiful. So we cut away from that to John completing this summoning ritual. We're going to come back to Tessa and Dean in a moment. Um, we've got this kind of fun. It's a special effect. It's not a visual effect. It's a special effect of like the sparks coming up out of the
It
vessel here.
seriously reminds me of firework.
It's clearly fireworks. So John has summoned, we don't know what yet, but we're very shortly going to realize what he's summoned. Um, at
Yeah.
first, it seems like he just got caught by a janitor, and this is Frederick Lane. And Frederick Lane delivers a great performance as well. But Sam knows right away, or sorry, John knows right away. We've got this fun little smirk, and this is the yellow-eyed demon.
Yeah.
So this is what John has summoned, and he's holding the gun on it. So
Well,
we still don't.
he's played the Yellow Eye Demon before. He played it the last time, didn't he?
Frederick Lane,
Yeah.
when
I maybe think I feel it.
he will he will continue to play the yellow-eyed demon, but I believe this is the first time we see him on screen
Okay, then yeah.
um, as the yellow-eyed demon. He's pretty good.
Yes, he
He's one of
is.
the he'll play the yellow-eyed demon pretty much the most. Um, but and he knows Joan only has one bullet, and he essentially says he's going to do the same thing he did when Sam tried to shoot him and just like out of the way. And John says, I'm not here to kill you. I want to make a deal. I'm like, oh, fuck, what is he
Fuck.
up to? We've got Sam back
Nothing
in.
good is the
Nothing
answer to
good.
that
Nothing
one. You're
good.
making a deal with with the yellow-eyed demon, there that only goes one way.
This cannot be good. I do now we're back to Sam in Dean's room. He's talking to Dean, who's, still the body is still in a coma. And it's this beautiful, like if it's this beautiful moment, I would be tempted to call it a heartfelt bromance.
Oh, I would absolutely call that a heartfelt
Can we
bromance.
call it a heartfelt bromance, even
Oh,
though
absolutely.
okay,
100%.
well, I'm pausing it then. We're calling it a heartfelt bromance. Let's see if either, after all, I have one.
Yeah, I would absolutely call that a heartfelt bromance.
I had not initially considered that if they're not both conscious.
Oh, it definitely
But
is.
yeah, because Sam says we were like, you can't die. We were just starting to be brothers again.
Yeah.
So cheers to Sam.
I was gonna say I can't not toast the bromance,
Oh,
which
all
I'm
right. We're calling it a bromance.
which as Wizard Dave loves to point out, I'm always mispronouncing.
I'm adding it to my notes here quickly. Bear with me a second. If I can spell, I don't need to spell. It's just for me. It's
I was
fine.
gonna say, who the hell counts spelling?
Have
If
you
one
met
is always
me?
counting spelling, I'm screwed.
Have you met me? Must be perfect all the time.
Yeah, screw that. See, I'm here
Hang
to
on,
remind you you don't
hang
have to
on.
be perfect all the time.
Wait. My,
What did
my,
you do?
wait. My spell checker, my spell checker changed it to heat filter moment. Bingo card. It's a heat filter moment. I think my spell checkers had a cocktail or two. Something that probably wouldn't be anywhere near this funny if I had had slightly less to drink. Uh, all right, we've lost Lynn. All right, I'm gonna hit play here. I'm gonna hit play. There it goes. Uh, so we cut to this hilarious scene where Dean's begging for his life. So again, this really beautiful interaction between Dean and Tessa, and oh my goodness, and she's like, this is so dark. Like you really get this sense that I love how this is lit. It's gorgeous. Um, we really get this sense that Dean is in this liminal space between life and death in a way he hasn't been up until this moment. And he's begging her to put him back. Um, and sh oh, this is one of my favorite lines in this interaction where he said, my brother's gonna die without me, and she's like, maybe he will, maybe he won't. Like she's like, the fight is over, and he says, no, it's not. She's like, it is for you. Um, and she's trying to comfort him. She's like, this is a good death. It's an honorable death. And he's like, fuck that. There's no such thing as an honorable death. Um, and I just love it where she starts to say like, okay, here's the thing. You're not getting back in your body. That's just a fact. And if you stay, you will become a monster. So this is where we get this piece of information that these angry spirits the boys have been hunting are people who chose not to move on when their reaper came for them. And after years of being disembodied, alone, scared, it drives them crazy. And eventually they get violent. And I think honestly, this is probably the only thing she could have said to him that would convince him to go on. That if he doesn't go, he becomes a monster. He becomes something that will hurt other people, and that some other hunter would have to stop him. It's beautiful. It's such a
Yeah.
beautiful scene. Uh, but back to now we're back to John talking to the yellow-eyed demon, and the bargain he's proposing is that he'll trade the gun for Dane. He'll give him the Colt, he'll give him the last remaining bullet, and in exchange, he wants Dane to live. He's saying it's a good trade. Um, I love the yellow-eyed demon is really underestimating Dean. He's saying, "Yeah, I can let him live. He's no threat to me." So we're going to file that away too. Um, and it's just this great kind of threatening conversation. Like this is a dance here. And John, we realize in a moment that like John is hoping that the gun is going to be enough to make this deal, but I think he knows it's not. And but he's like, before I do anything, I want to see with my own eyes that my son is safe. Hmm. Great performance from Frederick Lane. The contacts he was wearing, because that's practical, that's not a visual
Yeah.
effect at this point in the show, made him almost completely blind. So like they had, you can see it in his eyes a little bit reflected. They had to put a light on a camera so he would even know where it was. They put sandbags down on the floor because he couldn't see his monks. Um, so they had to make some accommodations for him because he just absolutely could not see with those contacts in. He says he wants something else other than the gun. Cut back to Dean and Tessa. And I love, like, she's stroking his hair in this very, like, maternal way. So for a guy who's never had a relationship with a mother figure and has longed for one, like this is really beautiful where she's trying to like comfort him and almost like um she's trying to help him make this transition into death the way that his biological mother transitioned him into life. And it's just I love this scene, the two of them. But all of a sudden something starts to go wrong. Here comes the demon smoke. She's shouting at it. No, it possesses her through her mouth and she whirls around. And again, like, so now Lindsay McKeon's got these contacts in and she can't see fuck all. Uh, and so she's got to try to put her hand on Dean's forehead and she can't see Jensen. Like the actress can't see Jensen. And as soon as she does that, well, we've got an electronics flicker. So while we have a black
Yeah.
screen here, I'm going to pause this. Let's check our cards for an electronics flicker.
I don't think I've got one.
I don't recall having one either. Um, no,
No.
no, I'm sad. I do not have one. Consolation drink.
I think I'm gonna have to join you.
Which, because my cocktail is more than half ginger beer, I can have a little more than I typically do. Okay, back to the show.
Mhm.
So this is before I hit play, this is something that's really huge in the mythology of the series because now John has made a deal
Hmm.
to save his son. So he's traded his life for his son's. This
But
is
we don't know that yet.
we don't know it yet, but I'm going to assume we've seen the end of the show. If anybody's watching this with us, I'm going to assume they've seen the end of the show, this episode. Um, so he's made this trade, and uh, you're correct. We haven't found out what it is yet, but we're going to in the next 6 minutes. And and the Reaper Tessa, she even says you're not getting back in your body. That's a fact. So the Winchesters have defied the natural order, and that always comes at a price.
Yeah.
So this is really huge in the mythology of the show. What has happened? Um, but meanwhile, we're back in the room, and the doctor, so now
Yeah.
Dean has come out of his coma. He remembers nothing. I'm going to hit play here, and the
And
doctor says you there's some kind of angel watching over you, is
yeah,
what the doctor says. We're
yeah.
going to file that away
This is a
too.
medical miracle as far as he is concerned.
This is a miracle, and it is. Like, this is a miracle. He said earlier, like, your brother's fighting very hard, but and Dean, and
Oh, I
again,
love
this is
this.
something,
Except this pit in my stomach, Sam, something's
yes.
wrong.
And this is something very similar to what he said back in Faith. So there's a lot
Yeah,
of ties between this episode and Faith. That there's just this feeling in his gut something is wrong. Um,
yeah,
so here comes John. John is checking on his sons because that was part of the deal. He wanted to be
yeah,
able to see with his own eyes that his son was
yeah,
safe. Um, Sam asks him point blank, did you go after the demon? He says no. He's clearly lying. The two of them start fighting again.
yeah,
And John, this time he says, "Can we not fight?" And again, Jared does this very subtle little like, "What? Dad's not taking the bait." Like, and John says, like, "Can we please just not fight? Like, I've made mistakes, but half the time I don't know what we're fighting over. Like, can we do this?" And and this is what I love about this, and we can see like how like John is starting to get teary-eyed. Like
yeah,
John knows, and that's why I spoiled the last 6 minutes of it because there's so much in Jeffrey Dean Morgan's performance here. Like he's starting to tear up. He knows this is the last time he's going to speak to his son,
yeah,
and he's trying not to. And the way that he looks after Sam and as Sam leaves to go get him a cup of coffee because John wants to talk to Dean, and there's just like his bottom lip just starts to quiver the tiniest little bit as he stares off after his son. Sam is gone, and here comes the bombshell drop of the episode. So John is talking to Dean, and he's talking about when Dean was a child. And, John would come home from a hunt, he'd be a mess. And Dean would say, "It's okay," which is exactly what 4-year-old Dean said to baby Sam on the front lawn when their house was on fire. It's okay. So and we're going to see it again too. This is Dean's MO. That Dean is a caretaker.
yeah,
Um, And John says ultimately, like, you
it's,
didn't have to do any of this. You always took care of me. You took care of your brother. I'm so proud of you. And if we remember back in Devil's Trap, John saying he was proud of Dean is what told Dean he was possessed by a demon.
yeah.
So this is not something the boys heard from their father. And you can see it
And
just,
in fact, he's about to say, "Is this actually you?"
is this you? Is this really you talking? Um, we've got the Americana theme starts to play again. And you can see like both of them like and Dean's like, why are you saying this? That both of them deliver such amazing performances here. And John says, I want you to watch out for Sammy. And I just want to point out for right now, there's two connotations to watch out for.
Yeah.
And I'm going to leave that there. So this is something of an ambiguous statement. Uh, so John leans in, he whispers something to Dean, and Dean is
Taken
visibly
back.
rocked by whatever John has said to him. Jeffrey Dean Morgan has said that he was whispering just dirty things to Jensen to try to make him laugh on his coverage. Um, but and John specifically says, like, I always put too much on your shoulders. And I think he says that because he knows he's about to lay something even worse on Dean's shoulders. John walks out, and all you see is him just put the Colt down on the table in his room.
Yeah.
Um, and he's like,
And he said,
okay.
okay.
All right, so we're about to see. Now I've already talked about this, but here comes Sam, and he's got a coffee cup because that's what John sent him to get so that he could talk to Dean by himself. And he comes in, and there's
Oh, I
John
love that
watching Dean.
shot.
Gorgeous,
Uh,
1 in a million shot of that coffee cup landing flat. The lid pops off and bounces right towards the camera. It's a 1 in a million shot. It's stunning. Sam is calling for help. Uh, and they've got John hooked up to a heart monitor. And the boys are just standing here looking on helplessly as they're trying to revive John. Um, and and it's not working. John
yeah.
is gone. We get a look at the monitor here. And according to the monitor, it's July 19th, 2006 at 9:06 a.m., which is Jared's birthday. This is the actual date they were filming this episode was July 19th on Jared's episode. And we end the episode with this black screen, the flatline tone, and the words time of death 10:41 a.m. So that is how we end this episode with
Oh.
John is dead. John has traded his life for Dean. And if you think that is not going to have consequences, you don't know what show you're watching.
Yeah. Uh,
Oh,
so let's see how our cards
let us take
ended
a
up.
look here.
I got one additional one. So,
Okay,
did
so
you want to use Sam gets conked on the head?
oh, it's super tempting. It is so tempting, but okay, I'm not going to because it's only the first episode of the season and it would definitively be cheating. Um, but uh it's I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty tempting. Okay, so the most I have is 4 in a row, and I have a total of 2, 4, 6, 7. How about you?
Most I have is two in a row, and I have four.
Okay, so you did better than you thought you were gonna do.
By one.
By one. By one. It's always better to under promise and over deliver.
Yeah. So,
All right. Well, I have lost by the least.
so
Oh,
hold on. I still got a little bit left here. Problem is, I keep having to reshake up my drink.
that is the one problem with margaritas. They can separate a little bit on you.
Yeah. So,
Uh,
cheers.
Slancha. Okay, so tell me one thing you loved and one thing you hated.
Ah, ah.
Do you need me to go first?
The one thing that and this is so minute,
Okay.
but
Is this a
it
hate or a love?
this is a hate.
Okay. Yeah, it's
It
hard to find something to hate in this episode. It's amazing.
yeah, it bugged me that he so easily
Which
was
he,
able to grab the, I know it's not a, the magic, whatever, the board thingy. I want to call it a Ouija board, but I know that's
yes.
not it.
Yeah,
The
the Wish.com Ouija board. Yes.
yeah.
Uh,
So the little, it annoyed me that like he had to think so, like it took so much force to do that glass, and all he had to do was put his hands down, and like it wasn't even
just
like,
did a little
oh
bit.
crap, I missed it the first time, oh
Yeah.
crap, I gotta really, it just happened.
Yeah. 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 You know
Like
what?
a little too
I
simple for
understand where
me.
you're coming from, and I don't disagree with you. And this is something, spoiler alert, this is not the last time in the series that one or both of the boys will be disembodied spirits. And there's an episode later in the series where you see them go through this learning curve, and there's other characters that will be disembodied spirits as well, and they have kind of a steep learning curve to be able to interact with their environment. And just like in Ghost, the reason Dean can knock the glass off of the table is it like it's an accident. He just gets super pissed and it
Right.
just happens. So particularly if you've seen more of the show than this, it is a moment where you're like, that should really be harder than it is. What I'm what I'm going to call the MacGuffin here, what I'm prepared to say is that it's slightly easier because of Sam's psychic thing. But yeah, I agree with you. It should be harder than it
See,
is.
I would buy the psychic thing if Sam was the one who was the disembodied spirit and not Dean.
Yeah, fair, fair.
So yeah, so
Uh,
that's the one thing that nagged at me. I wouldn't
yeah,
even say
no, I get it.
hated. I wouldn't say hated, I'd say nagged at me.
That's fair. How about something you loved?
Oh, all right. I changed my mind. It was purely because of
Okay.
something you said.
Oh,
And a lot of times it is because you say something and it'll completely change the way I think about a scene.
okay. Tell me.
When you see and I want to say Meg, but I know that that's not the correct character name or
The
anything.
Reaper,
It's just, yeah, the Reaper,
Tessa.
Tessa. Don't ask me where I got Meg from. Probably because
I
I'm
know where
so
you got
used to
Meg
saying
from.
Meg from last season.
I know where you got Meg from.
Okay.
Go ahead. So Tessa.
So when you were talking about the scene with Tessa and Dean and the way she got him comfortable with the fact that this death needed to was a natural part of things, and
Yes.
the aspect, I never thought of the fact that the mentioning of the monster thing, like, and then as soon as you said that, and I'm watching because of course I have it on mute because otherwise there'd be too much
Right.
going on. I'm watching Jensen's facial expressions as soon
Yes.
as you say that, and just, I know I've talked about the subtleties of his facial
Boy,
expressions a lot,
he's
but it,
such a gifted actor.
yeah, but it brings so much that I
Yeah.
you can't not talk about it.
Yeah.
And just when you, as soon as you mentioned it, she's saying the lines, and you see something in his eyes change, and I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
holy shit, like I hadn't noticed, even though I did literally just watch the episode like 2 hours
Yeah.
before we're recording this. I hadn't picked up on that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something honestly, like I've seen this show a bunch of times all the way through, and this episode in particular I've seen quite a few times, and it never ceases to amaze me that like you could have seen an episode 20 times and you're still going to catch something you didn't notice before. Like
Yeah.
it's such an amazingly well crafted show. Um all right, so for me, again, there is a lot to love here. This is a
Oh yeah.
fantastic episode. And we've talked about this before. That Eric Kripke has a real gift. Like there's no filler lines.
No.
That he uses every second of the 42 minutes he has. But my favorite, just what you're talking about, is the dynamic between Dean and Tessa. And like she's so gentle and it's the perfect way to approach a guy who's mourning his mother. I also have just an honorable mention for the technical issues of this episode and like how difficult it was for the actors to uh, I understand it's their jobs and that's what they get paid to do, but like the technical aspects of how you have to like film everything twice because you need one with the character there and one without, but as an actor, having a scene where there's a character in the scene that is invisible to your character,
Mm-hmm.
and how you play that, or like from Jensen's perspective, how he had to try to perform this character that no one else in the room was responding to. So I will mention that as a I'm sneaking in a second thing I loved since I also love the thing that you love. As far as something to hate, again, like there's not much to hate here. So this is
No.
me being my most nitpicky. The scene when Sam drops the coffee cup. You can visibly watch Jared go boop. And so it's not like the cup just like falls out of his hand. You can see him like physically let go of it. And I wish that they had been able to do that scene where it just like slipped out of his fingers. Um, if I had to guess, the problem was the lid that like it was
Yeah, probably
that
the lid
the lid
kept
was
getting
catching.
stuck on his hands.
That's my assumption. Those big old hands of his. Um, that's
So
my
many
assumption.
jokes.
So many jokes. But no, and like you're going to hear me mention this kind of frequently. Like, and I don't mean anything salacious by it, I swear. But like, dear Lord, his hands are enormous. Like,
Well, the
they're
man
perfectly
is
normal
what, six?
size. He's
He's
six
what,
five.
6'5"? Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
If he
I'm
had tiny
six.
hands,
I'm
again,
6 foot,
right.
and one of the things I comment on is that I need like the biggest cell phone there is, because otherwise I can't text.
It just looks like a toy. Yeah.
Yeah, like,
Yeah,
and I
well,
mean,
he's
frankly,
proportional. I
my
assume he's proportional.
but no, like,
Okay,
I mean, I
absolutely.
joke that like I pick up my younger daughter's cell phone who has, because she's significantly shorter than I am, and I pick up her phone and I actually struggle because
Yeah,
her
it's
hands
too
are
small.
significantly smaller than mine are. And I'm
Yeah.
like, how do you do anything on this thing? Because I'm so much bigger than she is.
Yeah, yeah. No, I suspect that was the problem, and this is how good this episode is. That other than Dean's dirty feet, like there's nothing I can find fault with. It's just amazing. So, okay. Well, I'm gonna have one more.
All right, hold on. Sorry, I need to learn how to pour faster.
You
Cheers.
can't even see me. Jokes aren't funny if you can't see me.
And you know how you can tell it's been a dry episode for me? I'm drinking it every possible opportunity,
Cheating
and I
terribly.
still have some.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I have I won't for long though. Um
Yeah, but no, like
yeah, and
I'm drinking like I'm like with you every opportunity
you're
I have
cheating.
found. I'm having some, and I still have some left.
Yeah, not everybody knows it. So I've mentioned this. I do not have a high alcohol tolerance. So every episode I pour myself 2 drinks and that's when it's gone, it's gone. But I can tell with this one it's because of the ginger beer, it's pretty diluted because yeah, like you up and knocking them back like a sailor and yeah, it's not that much.
Yeah, yeah, it's funny because
Oh,
usually when I do a margarita, I'll make a third. Like I'll do three of them. I only made two,
yeah, and there's not much. Yeah,
and
this was not a
there's
super
still
boozy
some
episode.
left.
This was not super boozy. Okay, well, that is last call. Thanks so much for coming along with us for the ride. If you like what we're doing here, be sure to tell your friends, like our videos, subscribe, comment. It makes it easier for other people to tell us, find us. There it is, too. If you run into a member of the SPN family in the wild, make sure to tell them about what we're doing here. We love hearing from our SPN family. You are always welcome to send us an email at hunterfuelpodcast@gmail.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at
And
Hunter
if
Fuel Podcast.
and as always, if you want to see more bonus episodes in those comments, please give us topic ideas because
We're not
Lord
that
knows,
creative. We need your help.
yeah, because Liz and I love making
We do.
bonus episodes. We just need some topic ideas.
Yeah, we need your help. Come to our rescue. In our next episode, we will be watching season 2, episode 2. Everybody loves a clown. When we learn that Dean may be afraid of flying, but Sam has a phobia of his own. Until then, stay safe, everybody. Bye bye.
Bye bye.